All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Teach with AI by Niger Girls in Tech. My name is Abdulatif Oswat. I'm the campaign coordinator of Niger Girls in Tech, and I'll be your moderator for today's session. So at NGIT, apart from our core missions, one of our missions is also to equip educators and students with the skills needed to thrive in the digital future. And today's session is designed to actually help you understand how AI can practically support your teaching in your various classroom, and not to actually replace it, but enhance it. So this will be a highly interactive session. So we encourage you all to participate effectively. So I'll hand over now to our associate director who would lead us through this session. Thank you very much. Eddie, are you there?
Good evening, everyone, and trust you can all hear me. Am I audible from that end?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so yeah, I want to welcome every one of us to this session, Teach with AI session, which is practically going to be one of our events that we're going to be holding for the month for the educators, the teachers, the school owners. Our major focus is towards the primary and secondary schools in such a way that we can be able to integrate AI into our teaching frameworks. All right, so let me see. I think we have some guests. Just a minute. All right. So let's dive right in. Today we're going to be talking about teaching with AI. We'll be addressing a practical framework for Nigerian educators. And I, Olalekan Agbola, will be taking us through this session. I am the Associate Director of Niger Girls in Tech and also an AI engineer by profession. So by now, I'm sure I don't have to start to define what artificial intelligence is, because practically every one of us here already have idea of what it is. We've interacted with it, we've used it for one or two things in our daily activities. So I'll quickly ask a question and I would like us to respond in the comments. So have you used AI today? And maybe you can just tell us what you used it for. Have you used AI today? Just tell me yes and what you used it for. I'll be expecting our responses in the comments. Okay. Anyway, so for me, well, I've used AI today. I've not gotten any response, but I will admit that I've used AI today. I used it in documenting uh, a process actually. So, and it really did a good job for me in terms of planning and creating that documentation. All right, so I'll move into the next page. Um, Before I go ahead, I would like to appreciate, okay, someone has responded. He said yes to solve some past questions for my exam preparation. Oh, wonderful. This is wonderful. This is a very good use case for AI. Okay. Another one, yes, I have. I used it to clean up website content. Wow. So that's wonderful. It's really nice to have these responses because it's going to be easy to relate as we move on. So before I go, ahead, I would like to first appreciate every educator, every mentor, every tutor in the meeting for your efforts in the educational system of Nigeria. I must say it has not been an easy job to mentor people, to train them, to teach them. I can understand what it means to be patient with a student that is not really getting what you're trying to let them understand. So it's really a great job we're doing there. And I'll tell you, many people do say that when some professions go extinct, that the world will crumble. But I'll tell you for real that it starts from who taught that profession to be what they are. Where did they gain that knowledge from? If you trace it down, it goes down to education. So we are actually the pillars in terms of anything. Doctors, engineers, every one of them were built from our teachings, our trainings, and our mentoring. Okay, so there's a caption here on the screen that says AI does not replace what a great teacher does. It amplifies it when the teacher knows how to direct it. So this is a phrase that addresses every teacher here, you and I. Sorry, please, just a minute. Yeah, apologies. So I had to quickly get my network in good shape. Okay, so AI does not replace what a great teacher does, it amplifies it. What does this mean? It is also in one way telling us that AI is not a threat to any teacher, because of course you can have that challenge of what you want to train the students on. They've gone there, they've made research about it, they're coming here to challenge you with lots of questions, and it doesn't even belittle you as a teacher. It will only amplify you as a teacher, especially, see, that hyphen means when the teacher knows how to direct it. So artificial intelligence is already in the Nigerian classroom. Yeah, it's a fact that we need to accept first. Because even if you don't use it, your students already use it. They use it even because they need to meet up with your assignments. They need to submit your tasks. They need to, they need to do that thing that you told them to do, especially when they don't know it. ChatGPT is their first run to. So artificial intelligence is already in the classroom, in our phones and digital content. But the goal here now is to shape its role in learning. The goal here now is for us to accept that AI is here to stay, and we need to see how it will help us lift some of the work in the process and make it more efficient. All right. So there are some of the challenges that we do face in the teaching system, which I would like to address. And one very special one of it is when you're training, you're taking the student through a session or a group of students, I would say, and 5 of them actually got the concept. And let's say the remaining 5 are still struggling with it. It's an extra work on you because you have to break the concept more into understandable bits for the rest of the 5. There are lots of things that AI can help you do in that space. There are lots of things that you can utilize AI to do in ensuring that at every level of understanding, each student can be able to grasp the concepts that you're trying to train them on. And we're going to be looking into the 4 major aspects. I don't know if my screen is still bold enough this way, rather than using the bold screen. So is this clear enough? Okay, good, thank you. So there are four life cycles in a teacher's day-to-day activity, and we are going to be addressing each one of it. And I would let you know where AI fits in these aspects. The first aspect is when you, as a tutor, you plan, and that is before the lesson. The second aspect is when you actually teach, which is during the lesson. The third aspect is where you assess. That is when you begin to know how well your students understand what you've taught them. And the last aspect, I don't think that is really, it's not really what many people do, but the very fourth aspect is a very important aspect that we're going to talk about too, which is a reflect phase. So AI can help you in each of these phases. And it doesn't mean that once you started phase one, you have to implement it in all the phases. You can have the implementation in the different aspects that you want to utilize AI in. But be well aware that if you implement AI end to end from phase one to phase four, you will have more efficiency compared to just utilizing it in a part of your life cycle or as a tutor. So this cycle is not a linear one, which means when it gets to four, it ends there. No, it feeds back to one and the cycle repeats itself again. So when you plan, you teach, you assess, you reflect, and you plan again based on the reflection that you've had. AI can assist you in planning faster, in preparing faster, and be more differentiated. AI can help you to deliver your teachings in an effective manner. AI can help you generate meaningful, targeted feedbacks instantly. And AI can also help you in your reflection session where you reflect on all the things you've done for the week. So the very first phase we're going to talk about here is the planning phase, and that is before the lesson. So when you plan with AI, what does this mean? And how does this look like somewhere that AI can come into play? When you're planning with AI, which is one of the very, very daunting parts of a tutor's task, which is writing the lesson notes, generating your lesson outlines. And I will tell you in this current training that there are lots of tutors now that the training notes or the lesson notes they've been using for almost 5 years is what is still in use. Why? Because the process is a very, very daunting one. And do you know how long it will take for a tutor to make a lesson note and have to change it every session? So because of the Herculean task behind it, they tend to use the same lesson notes all through for like 6 or 7 generations, the same lesson notes. And the world has changed. The world has changed. There is now going to be a very big disconnect between the educational system and the real world because we're still using the same lesson notes. And outside there, things have changed drastically. How can you plan with AI? What does planning with AI mean? Planning with AI means that you're generating lesson outlines that aligns with your topic. It means you are creating differentiated quizzes across ability levels in one prompt. It means you're producing age-appropriate analogies for concepts that students will find abstract. It means you're building quiz banks, you're building practice sets before the class even begins. It means you're drafting the note summaries that students can use for revision. Why is this the highest value step for teachers? An average tutor or a teacher would spend, at least I can remember at the time when I was still, into this physical teaching stuff, we are always told to create the lesson notes during the holidays so that, and you have to submit it like a week before, then it has to be reviewed and all that. Look at the whole process in between. First, it's already a task for you to start that work. So AI will come here and reduce that task for you by 30 to 50% without reducing the quality, without reducing your touch in that topic as a teacher. It will increase your level of productivity, and it will also amplify the level of tutoring that you're going to give. Then you would have more time to what? To plan other things. You have less time to improvise because the AI will help you do all that. And you'll be more confident in the way you're going to teach your students. There are lots of tools that can be used in this process. The very basic level, ChatGPT, Claude. We have some other tools like DeFi, MagicSchools.ai. We have Canva AI. We have Quizlet AI. These tools are tools that help you to, at different use cases though, they help you to create contents, they help you to generate notes, they help you to adapt a paragraph to a reading level. And at this point, you would find that you would have more time to do other things and you will be able to deliver your content confidently. And how is this done? It is done by a planning prompt formula, actually. So as much as there is a lot of noise out there concerning AI, and it gives us this impression that you need to have enough money to integrate AI into your workflows, I'll put it to you that as free as ChatGPT is on the laptop, you can deliver a high-level documentation, a high-level lesson notes, depending on how you ask the AI to do it for you. There is a course that we're actually developing here to be out very soon called prompt engineering. So prompt engineering is a language for AI models. And as much as we have so many AI models out there, they understand differently because they were trained on different data. Google, for example, was trained majorly based on the Google search engine. OpenAI got their own data from somewhere else, and and a lot of them. So you have to talk to them differently to get the output that you desire. Looking at this template that is you're seeing on your screen now, following this simple template, you can improve your prompt by 50%. You can improve your prompt as much as 70%. Yes, I have to be very correct. So the first thing you have to do is to assign a role to your AI. We're going to be practicing it now. You assign a role, you assign a level, you assign a topic, you assign a task, and you include any constraints that might be needed. So a very simple example is what you're seeing down there. I am teaching a mixed ability primary 6 English class for GSS2 students aged 12 to 13 on the causes of World War. This is the topic here. The task: create 10 comprehensive questions at 3 difficulty levels. And you also include a constraint. So the constraints, at some point, you might not need it and you might need it. But the very first 4 are very important because you need to allow the AI carry on the kind of role you want it to play in the question or the prompt you're asking it. So you can ask it to be the teacher. What kind of teacher will it be? Is it going to be a lecturer? Is it going to be a primary 6 teacher? Is it going to be a secondary school teacher? So you have to include that. Context is very, very important when you're speaking to AI models. Then what class are we addressing? This same topic called the cause of the First World War could be taught at a very, very high level. So you need to make the AI understand the level at which you want the content to be in. Then the topic and the task. What do you want it to do? Should it create 10 comprehensive questions? Should it generate an image based off the topic? So you have to be very, very specific with every thing that you want the AI to do. So if you are currently with your laptop or your mobile device, we're going to be practicing it right now. So let's let's get into it. Yeah, I have my own ChatGPT interface here. So let me clear this. I hope we can all see my screen. All right. So quickly, one other thing that you also need to understand when using ChatGPT is this project icon is a very, very important tool or interface for you because it helps you to organize. It's more like a folder that you can keep lots of things that are related to each other there. So for me now, say I'm addressing primary, okay, what class do we want to talk? Okay, GSS2 students. So I come here now, I create a new project. I call it GSS2 lesson, and I create the project. So when you do that, it will create a folder for you. So this should be up. Yeah, you can see it here. It creates a folder called GSS2 lessons. Yeah. And when you click on it, every of the charts you have with the AI model will be in this folder. And you can easily come here and make your research. Maybe you have some other discussions earlier. You can have everything regarding GSS2 here, and you can create more projects concerning each of the classes that you want to take. So let's take the sample that we actually wanted to address earlier. Let's take that. Let's take that. So let's take this sample prompt here. The sample prompt here says you are helping a Nigerian primary 4 teacher. So we've assigned it a role. I hope you can all see my screen. Okay. Okay. So many of us are currently on our laptop or your phone and you've created a project and you are currently where I am. Let me just paste this prompt in the chat session and you see the output we'll get. So the prompt is there in the chat session. So the prompt here divides everything. We're going to be looking at each sentence one by one. The first one says you're helping a Nigerian primary 4 teacher. That is a role. You can decide to call it, instead of you are helping, you can decide to say you are a Nigerian primary 4 teacher. And don't forget the context Nigerian, because it could be a British primary 4 teacher actually, and it would work based on the context you have given it. So you've assigned it a role. Then the next one here says create a 35-minute lesson plan on states of matter, solid, liquid, and gas, right? States of matter for a 9-year-olds. Yeah. So this is the task. So we've got the rule and we have the task. Now, further, include a simple hands-on activity using items found in a typical Nigerian kitchen. Because you now want to break the concept and make them understand it, you included extra context on how you want to break the concept down. Then add 5 short questions for an end of the lesson check. So let's see what this gives us. Okay. Yeah. So let's look at the output. The output gives us a learning objective. It also follows everything that we asked it to do. The subject is basic science. The class is primary 4, age 9. Duration is 35 minutes. And what states of matter. So it divides the, okay, let me add in this person. It divides the training or the outline into 4: define matter, identify the 3 states. And if you look into the introduction, it says what are some things you can touch in this classroom? Explain that everything they mention is matter, anything that has weight and occupies space. Then introduce the topic states of matter. So this is more like bringing in something relatable before you come in with the actual concept. That is the approach that is being used here. So, and if you look at it in the definition of solid, it said it has a fixed shape and size. And the examples are stone, book, table, and ice. And yeah, I'm trying to look for the part where it actually uses typical Nigerian kitchen. Okay, yeah. So some of the examples here, you would find that they are literally things you can find in the kitchen. So it also even gives you activities you can do to demonstrate. Then it shows you the steps of how you can actually take that process out. So this is one of the ways you can actually use AI in terms of teaching, especially if you now want to draft out an outline per se. You would have something detailed and how you are going to go about the training. The other aspect is if you are going to break this into different age grades. So instead of adding 5 short questions, okay, let me add more context. And I'm saying split, or I'd ask it now, I need 3 different explanation of this concept to 3 different knowledge levels. Say you as a tutor now, you understand that you have like some students that do fall behind in class, and you want to like break it down to simpler concepts, and you asked the AI now that you need 3 explanation of these concepts to 3 different knowledge levels. So if I say high, medium, and low. Okay, someone is saying I should put the prompt in the comments. So yeah, I'll do that now. So when we readdress this prompt now and ask it to explain this in 3 different knowledge levels, and we send, let's see the kind of output we get this time. Okay. So you can see the explanation of the concept now is being split into 3 different knowledge levels. And this is the actual explanation of inclusivity, inclusion, because you are trying to include both the low learners and the fast learners. You're trying to include them in your explanation. So look at the high knowledge level explanation. Says matter is made up of tiny particles called molecules in solids, this, that up to the end. But when you look at the low level knowledge explanation, it says everything around us is matter. Some things are hard like stone and they are solid. Some things can pop like water, liquid, and some things are invisible like air that we breathe, gas. Very simple, and you can still dish out the same knowledge to all these students before introducing the actual concept of solid, liquid, and gas. So that's pretty much it regarding the planning phase. There's still more levels to this actually, because this is like a very basic level of prompting. You can still have role persona. You can have reiterative learning, where it has to check what it needs to give to you before giving you the actual output. But with this, you can be able to achieve as much as 70% efficiency with your output. So let's look at the balance between planning, what AI can plan well, and what still needs you as a teacher. The first one is AI can help you to plan your outlines and objectives. if you provide enough concept, enough context, rather, if you provide enough context to the AI model, just as we did, you would have a well-structured outline and a well-structured objective. You would have reading level adapted text, just as we did, providing for different knowledge levels. Even you reading it alone, you'll be able to dish out that knowledge to the students without missing out on any one of them. The vocabulary list and flashcard content, and a differentiated task variant at multiple levels. But there is still a part that you need to play. There's still a role that you need to play as a tutor or as a teacher. You need to know the specific student's gap. So AI will work with what you give it. If you are able to understand that you have just 2 knowledge levels in your class, that is, there are some that are fast learners, and there are some that you still need to teach them one more time, or you need to use diagrams to explain for them before they grasp the concept. That is what you as a teacher need to identify. You as a tutor, you need to understand, you need to also sequence the topic across the full term. You need to be able to, because your own subject level expatriate needs to come into this space where you know the kind of topics you want to take them for the term. You arrange it according to how you want the knowledge to flow, and you pass it into the AI. Then the role you play there also is to judge the cultural and community relevance. For example, you are the Nigerian. You are the one who's going to tell the AI that, okay, for Nigerian level, do you understand? And also, the last one is to integrate the local context and building relationships. So the part where we mentioned that the AI should relate it with items in the kitchen is something that you as the tutor have to identify. What do the students quickly understand? Is it when you start to use football concepts? Is it when you start to use kitchen concept, market concept? So you are the one who is going to understand all that and give it to the AI. Then the AI will take it up from there. Yeah, we already talked about the tools. You can use Magic Schools AI. It is actually a paid version, but you can make use of the free tier. DFIT for differentiated reading text, Canva, ChatGPT, and Claude. We're going to also be checking out on Claude and Quizlet AI. So, but on a very free level, you can make use of ChatGPT, and you still have the kind of outputs that you require. So that is that for the planning phase. And now we'll be moving into the second phase, which is the teach with AI. Now, this phase actually needs more of your intervention than what the AI gives out, because you are the one who is going to explain what it is to them. So the first step, a student is confused of a traditional explanation of abstract concepts. So you explained osmosis to the student, and the student doesn't understand, right? Then you as a teacher, you prompt AI and you say, explain osmosis to a 12-year-old Nigerian student using an everyday example. The output is displayed visibly on the screen, and the teacher asks, which explanation was clearer? Was it mine or the AI's own? In fact, at this point, you can ask the AI to define osmosis in 10 different versions, breaking down the concept into bits. And you ask the student to check which one does he understand better. You might not even use it as a comparison between you and the AI, but a comparison of the different kind of outputs that the AI gives out. So what is the shift that we see here? So the teacher moves from information deliverers to learning facilitators, because now you are kind of out of the picture. It is the student and the AI. Meanwhile, if you don't explain it to the students in the class, the student will still go back home if the student is very curious, actually. go back home, take their mom phone or their dad's phone and ask the same question. But here is the risk. The risk in that is that AI models will tell you yes most times than they will tell you no. And being ignorant is a lot better than being equipped with the wrong knowledge. So when your student is confused of an actual concept in class and they go home to ask the AI and the AI begins to purge out wrong concepts to them, that is what they will digest. But if you bring that concept, the explanation to it, knowing fully well that you understand, you are the subject matter expert in this case, you know what to ask and provide for the student to understand. That will aid the students to know what they were meant to know at that point in time as regards the topic. So it is more advisable for you to help the student to learn, help them to understand right there in class than them going out there to make their research and bombard their minds with the wrong concept or wrong knowledge, because you are still the one who is going to bear the loss or bear the disadvantage. Of course, you're going to have to assess them, they will not score it well and all that. So it's better you achieve the knowledge, you achieve the explanation better in the class rather than them going out there to look for other answers. So the teacher moves from the information deliverer to the learning facilitators. Unexpected questions becomes teaching opportunities and not disruptions. So rather than the student leaving the class confused, they leave the class with a better explanation with the use of AI. This doesn't mean that you cannot explain the concept better, but it means that you are borrowing the knowledge of 1,000 other people trained. That is exactly how the model was trained. The model was trained based on lots of knowledge banks out there. So you're borrowing the knowledge of a lot of other people to train that student. So what is the impact that this has in class when you're teaching with AI? The impact in this is that the class needs to be digitalized, right? Or digitized. In what sense? You have to have a projector, you have to have digital tools. Maybe each of the students have personal laptops, or you as the tutor have the laptop and you're projecting it to a screen. A lot of all that. Those are the things that come into place when you are teaching with AI actively. So one other way to teach with AI, some of these strategies. The first one is to use the deliberate mistake strategy. What does that mean? You present an AI text with a factual error and the student finds and corrects it. So in the process of you teaching, to solidify that knowledge, you present an error of what you taught the student and see if the student understands well enough to correct that error. And by that time, during the correction, you are sure that this student already understands the concept. So, for example, you're writing a paragraph about photosynthesis with one factual error for a GSS2 student on the spot. So, as soon as you generate that text, you ask the student to read it, and they spot the error. The student says, no, this thing is not correct. You've gotten your point that this student now understands what you're trying to teach them. The second one is the live example generator, where you make abstract concepts instantly relevant to student interest. So I think we already addressed this in the plan with AI. So this is where you use relatable concepts. Give me an example of supply and demand using the Nigerian street food market. Of course, very, very relatable. I don't know, should we try out this prompt? Let me share this prompt out. Okay. So you're trying to teach supply and demand to students and you want them to understand it using the concept of the Nigerian street food market. So I'm pasting this prompt out there. I'm pasting it also in the chat section. Sometimes it might not be until you have to generate it or have a projector to project on the screen. Sometimes it only takes you as a tutor to read it and understand how you are going to deliver it to the students. So instead of you racking your brain on how to explain this concept, you have a very, very nice scenario here, Suya on the street. And it's talking about high demand and low supply, low demand and high supply. So imagine it's evening time in Lagos and many people want suya from a popular street vendor. The vendor has only 50. So if you read it through, I'm sure you will get something close to this. And if you want something exactly like this, just type in, just ask it to use suya on the street for your major concept explanation. I'm sure you'd have something like this. So when you read it through, you would also get some enlightenment on how to further teach the student and make them understand, right? So while doing this, there are some ground rules that should be established, especially when teaching with AI. The first one is to always ensure that the students are seeing the screen. Ensure that they don't think there's a magic underground happening. Ensure that the screen is being seen and the prompt. Why? Because you are indirectly also training them how to make research on their own. Of course, they would spend the term or the years they are meant to spend in your class and graduate and move into tertiary institution. But one thing you would have instilled in them is the ability to ask the right questions, the ability to get the right answers. So the process of you asking the question based off the knowledge that you have as a teacher is going to guide them in how they would ask or make researches by themselves. So the rule 2 also means you have to evaluate the output of the AI. Don't establish that the result of an AI is the fact. Always let them understand that it should still be verified. It is not the absolute truth. Then rule 3 is that it is not a substitute. So it not being a substitute doesn't mean it should not be used. And it is not also meant that they should not use their brains at all. Why? Because you're asking them now to answer a question. You ask them a question. You can ask them to attempt it first. When they attempt it, then you ask the AI the question and they read the answers. Like that updates their knowledge of the answer they were supposed to give. And believe you me, if you ask that question the next time, they would combine their answers with what they read on the screen and give you a better response. So it is not a substitute, but you're already training them how to use it as a partner and not as a source of truth or a source where they don't need to think anymore or reason anymore. Then the last one is you have to define the AI free zones. So while you are establishing teaching with AI, you need to let them know the parts where they don't need to use AI. So there should be some tasks that you give them and ask them, do not use AI. I really want to understand how you would approach this. So practical experiments, you can't use AI for that. Step-to-step explanations can, yeah. So they can't be able to explain exactly what the AI has written for them. So those kind of oral tasks should be more of what should be AI free zones, right? So what to say during class? Most times when you are asked a question and you want to integrate teaching with AI, you can say, let's ask how it would explain this and see if we agree. And sometimes you might say, after you have prompted the AI for the answers, you can say, this is what the AI said. What do you think is missing? What would you add? And the last one says AI gave us a starting point. Now let's take it further. With this kind of phrases, you are establishing that fact that it is a baseline for them to build their knowledge on. It is a place where you only go there for support and not for help. Like not for 100% support, but at least 20% or 30% support. So that is part of the things that you need to establish when you are integrating teaching with AI into your class. So I think that is that for teaching with AI. One very important thing that you should take away from here is establish the ground rules, and also, if you can, try to make your class as digitized as possible. The use of projectors, bringing your laptop to the class, how you're going to make them see what the AI is outputting, so they can be able to answer the questions and all that. So that is very, very important when teaching with AI. The third step, the third phase we are going into is assessing with AI, which is after the lesson. So say you've integrated your plan with AI, you integrated your plan with AI, you can as well at that same point draft out assessments based off the planned outline. You can draft out your assessments, and there are different assessment types that you can draft out that can push the level of understanding that you want to gain from your students. The first one is an exit ticket. 3 quick questions to check the understanding before you end the class. Misconception probe. So you design like 5 questions to surface the common wrong answer. This is like maybe I'll call it reverse engineering in some way, because you are purposely asking the wrong question because you want to know if they got it right. So you can ask the AI to do this for you, especially when you have a target. So do you want to understand? Do you want to know if they can explain the concept well? Do you want to know if they can differentiate the wrong one from the right one? So when you provide this concept to this context to the AI, that this is what I want to achieve with the assessment I want you to set for these students, it will work based off that concept. Rubik's, you can develop marking criteria for a project or an essay with the exact point allocations, and you can also structure the question and model answers at 3 quality levels. So this last one is majorly used for exam preparations. It's majorly used for exam preparations. For example, you're preparing a student for WAEC. Yeah, you're preparing a student for WAEC, and you want to simulate some questions that are WAEC related, right? You can easily use AI to do that. You can easily use AI to do that. I think I need to check out one of these questions here. Okay, so you want to consolidate the student's knowledge in types of soil. So I'll still use this same folder. So as I said, this is one of the charts you've had. Say you are still treating a GSS2 student. Okay, let's say I'm taking a primary 5 student now, so I have to create a new project called primary 5. Okay, so all I just need to do is to go into that project and start my chart. So what's the prompt here? I'm asking the AI to create, the prompts, I've pasted it in the charts. I'm asking the AI to create 10-question multiple choice quiz for primary 5 students on types of soil. Each question should have 4 options. Mark the correct answer for each. Keep the vocabulary and basic simplified. This is a very, very basic level of assessing with AI, right? It will, of course, generate 10 questions with all that. But if you want to take it to a different level, is where you are setting questions. You want to you want to prep a student for WAEC, and okay, so let me paste this now. Maybe the student is reading about acid, bases, and indicators for WAEC or NECO, let's say. So, and you paste this kind of prompt. There are two things that will be achieved at the end of this. What are those things? So let's get the questions first. The prompt says, create 10 NECO style objective questions on acid, bases, and indicators for SS2 chemistry. Include one-line explanations for why each wrong option is wrong for use in class review session. So I will paste this in and let's see the output. So we have 10 NECO style objective quizzes with the answers and also why the other options are wrong. Now, when the student begins to go through this kind of assessment, they don't only know the answer, but they know why the other options are wrong. So even while the students attempt a similar question, for example, this first one says, which of the following is an example of a strong acid? Option A says HCl. Option B says CH3COOH. Option C says NaOH. And option D says H2O. Now, when you see the answer says HCl is the strong acid. But the other options says CH3 is a weak acid, NaOH is a base, H2O is a neutral. The student coming across this, even if he doesn't know the answer and he has really read through this, he understands which of them is not the answer. This H2O is a base, is a neutral. No, it's a neutral, it's not acidic. It goes through NaOH, he sees NaOH, he says, oh, this is a base, it's not supposed to be acid. And eventually he will be able to figure out the answer. So you can achieve a two-way kind of mentoring this way, because you are not just telling them the answers, you are telling them why the other options are not the answer. So these are the things that assessing with AI can help to do, because they would gain the knowledge in two different aspects. Now, the review step is what you need to do while assessing with AI, which is you should not send an AI generated assessment directly to a student without reviewing it. And that is because AI can generate nonsense. It can generate things that are not relevant. So you have to review it first and ensure that everything is aligning with what you want to assess in the student. It takes you nothing less than 90 minutes when you review. It depends on how much the questions you are creating are. Then you are able to like give them the right assessment. So because an AI can hallucinate and it can use inappropriate or regionally confusing vocabulary, you understand? So you can be able to take all that out of the picture and give the student the right assessment. So while doing this, I'm sure this can be integrated in your first step. Like I said earlier, you can integrate it in your first step. It all depends on how you prompt the AI to do that. So let's go to the very last part, which is the reflect with AI. So reflecting with AI, this is where if you had integrated 1, 2, and 3, it will be a lot richer. The kind of response you will get will be very rich, because the AI is involved in every of the steps. But nevertheless, you can still achieve a level of feedback in terms of reflection from the AI. How? You, as the tutor, you gave them assessment. You've seen the number of students that passed the assessment. You've seen the number of students that failed the assessment. This will be part of your prompt that, oh, you did you took this topic based off this, but this percentage of students passed, with the highest score being this, and this percentage of students failed, with the lowest score being this. The AI takes in this feedback along with all the plannings it had done with you. If you took it along to the teaching and the assessment, then it uses that feedback to restructure the planning, the teaching, and also the what? The assessment against the next class, so that you can cover up on all those concepts that you might have missed or didn't teach well, and also push further in making them understand. So the first one is, what worked this week that I want to repeat? Is it the so these strategies here that we talked about, the deliberate mistake, the live example generator, the AI debate starter, which of these worked? What did not work, and what would I change? And what do I want to try differently in one lesson next week? So you see that it's a cycle that needs to keep going to refine the final output for the next cycle. So when you share the answers and these 3 questions and you ask, what suggestions do you have based on what I have shared? Then you get a feedback on what you should do next and how the next class should be taken. So reflection compounds. A teacher who reflects weekly would improve faster than the one who never reflects. AI acts as a thought partner and not a judge. So it's not going to judge you, it's just going to help you think that, okay, since we did it this way and it did not work, why not let's try this other way? And it suggests, other methods for you to train with. So, of course, we have working within connectivity constraints. You can use the offline strategy. Of course, you can use ChatGPT. So far, so good, has been the lowest bandwidth tool that you can use. I think at a very, very low network, you can have your output still generated. Even as much as better AI, you can still have a good output, especially if your WhatsApp is still, working. Then we have some offline tools that you can use. We have the likes of Google Scan. Yeah, this Google Screen, Google Lens. Yeah. So Google Lens will help you to take a screenshot of a note, and you can either copy the text or you have it translated. So these are the offline kind of tools that you can use. Microsoft Reading Progress for oral literacy, Photomat for a camera-based math solving. So Google Lens also does this math solving for you if you use it right, by taking a picture, whether it's handwritten or typed. You can take a screenshot of it with your Google Lens and you ask the AI to solve it for you and all that. So the classroom itself requires zero connectivity. So you can have all your contents, you can have them generated before you even go to class. You don't need to always be online 24/7 in class. You can have everything created before you start the class with them. So making the AI culturally relevant. These are things you have to put into consideration if you want to make your AI. So as you have created something like this, with this folder, these contexts are things that you have to include so that the AI understands the level at which it needs to generate the content, or the area or the niche that it needs to generate the content. Because we are in Nigeria, you need to always use this text called using examples from Nigerian daily life. So you also need to, in your constraints now, you have to use avoiding Americanism or British idioms. So it will not end up providing complex text or British text or high level kind of idioms for you. Then also set in a Nigerian context. You can use this to support your task. whenever you are defining what you want it to do. Then the last one here, include examples translatable to Yoruba, Hausa, and Igbo. So in this sense now, you are enabling a code switching for multilingual rooms. When you're asking it to use Nigerian context, you're asking it to start using Nigerian names, Nigerian places, Nigerian story problems. And when you ask it to avoid Americanism or British idioms, you're asking it to produce cleaner and universally accessible English. Do you understand? So when you use examples from Nigerian daily life, you're asking it to use markets, local food, and transport analogies. If you apply this into your prompts, you are going to be having something that can be relevant to our own use case in Nigeria, because most of these models are trained with the data available to them, which is majorly going to be filled with the British, the United Kingdoms, and other countries that are not African. So it is our own. Have you tried, okay, have any one of you tried to generate an image from Microsoft Designer or an image from maybe ChatGPT, where you just ask it to generate an African woman or an African child? What you're going to see there, as at last 2 years, if I must be very correct, literally the kind of content it generated was either a small baby crying. It's always going to be a sorrowful face, because what they have in context of the training data for the model is slavery, poverty, and all that. So the model will be biased to our cultural side, because our training data is not a lot on that end. So it will do well for us to include all this, as yeah, of course, the model has increased in knowledge now. It is getting more advanced, more versions have been created. So, but it is still important for you to use this in your prompts so that you can have better outputs. Okay, so we talked about this exam alignment, creating WAEC prompt strategy, creating NECO prompt strategy. I think all this will be shared with us after the training session. Now, I think we're getting to the very end of the class, where we'll be addressing the common fears that most of us do have in the educational system. And one of it is, will AI replace me as a teacher? I think I already addressed that in the beginning of this session, that AI cannot read the room. It cannot notice who is disengaged, and AI cannot build trust with a struggling student. But you as a teacher, you are the intermediary between a vast knowledge base and the struggling student. So it is your responsibility to pull what can help the students understand, to guide them in the way of achieving that understanding of the concept they are struggling on. So the only thing AI will do is to help you to replace the repetitive tasks you are handling, rubrics, outlines, assessments, questions in some particular format, those kind of tasks that occupy your exhausted hours. So you can have time to observe your students, to bond with them, and provide that training. So your irreplaceable work is your relationship, your judgment, and your presence. At least for now, we don't have a robot tutor, so we are still safe as teachers. Then the next question is, what if I am not confident with technology? You do not need to be, because literally every one of us here were able to join this meeting. So we are already as competent enough to use AI. So far as you are able to join a meeting link like this, trust me, you are good to go. There is no coding and no special interface. You're already interacting with ChatGPT. If you can type a WhatsApp message, you can use AI for lesson planning. You can start with one prompt and do it once. Everything gets easier as soon as you move ahead. So what it means is, you can also improve your knowledge by enrolling in a prompt engineering training. We are going to be launching that very soon. Um, that will help you to understand how to get the best output from your from your AI model. So that is also very important. Classroom realities that you need to address. What if the students use AI to cheat? Do you think they are not doing that already? What is the solution? You need to design assessments that AI cannot replace. Like I said, oral assessments, in-class practicals, and process-based projects, and also projects that will make them research. So the research now will have to do with the depth and the quality of the research and how well they are connected with the research. So it's a different thing for the student to go and pull data from AI. It's a different thing for the student to be able to explain what they are submitting to you. So you as the teacher, you have to now ensure that, okay, whatever knowledge you are bringing to submit to me is already instilled in you. So the next level of assessing the student can be you asking them to explain what they are submitting. So you can be able to confirm that, okay, this research you did, you are in the research and you did not just copy and paste questions or answers to me. So is the content AI produces accurate? We already talked about this often, but not always. So AI is like a first draft. It is not a final product. Your subject expertise is the required quality check. Then how much time will this save you? It will save you 3 to 5 hours per week on prep and assessment, if not more, if you can actually utilize it very well. So the learning curve takes 2 to 3 weeks, after which the time savings compound dramatically. Of course, so it will only take you some time to create projects for each of the classes you'll be focusing on, and you begin to use it as much as possible. I'm not sure it will even take that much time. So the two kits we have addressed so far that you can on your own go and research. The plan aspect, you can use ChatGPT, magicschools.ai, and Canva AI. For teach, you can use Khan Academy, Google Translate, Photomat. And for Quizlet, you can use, for assessment, you can use Quizlet AI, Socratic, Grammarly, and for Reflect, you can use Otter AI, Google Notebook LM, and also Perplexity AI. So I think that has brought us to the very end of this session. I think this teaching commitment will be shared with us, and I will open the floor for questions. Thank you very much for your time.
All right. Thank you very much, AD. Thank you very much. This is a very, very insightful session, I must say. So even though I have been using ChatGPT for quite some time now, I've learned something new today, to be very, very honest with you. So if you have any questions here for our speaker today, please, you can use this medium to use the raise hand feature, and we'll take your question one at a time. All right, so the thing is, I'll just go first because honestly, I have a question, but I was waiting for others to speak first. Okay, I even jotted it down here. So, Adi, I would like to address this to you. Most time as a tutor, I'm an educator myself. So when I'm explaining things to my student, I make sure I use real life scenarios to explain things to them, to break things down for them. And I also noticed that when I give them assignments, let's say far back as 3 years ago, 4 years ago, when AI is not really this rampant, when we give students assignments, we expect it to be more like a testing phase for them, so we can know if they actually understand these things we're actually taking them. But in a situation whereby a student tells you, oh, I don't understand this thing, and you keep using live scenarios, you keep using other methods for them to understand, you even provide resources for them, and you expect them to go through it, you feel like, okay, they already understood this part. And they even affirmed it that, yes, I understand. Only for you to give them assignments and you realize the entire assignment, there is no point where you can say they actually used their own muscle memory. Everything is just speaking AI, AI, AI. So there is a disappointment as a tutor that I say that these people don't understand. Why do they still have to use AI? And most of the time, I'm not even against students using AI, but I want them to actually understand it themselves, not just like a copy and paste thing. So when they do this assignment, I feel like, okay, maybe they actually understand. But with the AI, like with me seeing AI, I feel like, do they really understand these things? So my question now is, what is the best way to actually approach this? How do I justify that this assignment was not done with their muscle memory without them saying, oh, I'm correct, I got it 100%. Why did you give me 20%? Why did you, something like that? And I think you answered one part. You mentioned oral assessments, and you also mentioned project-based research. Even though oral assessment, I still see it as it's not something I can actually just, let's say in a certain way, where you are taking a virtual class and you have 20 students, am I going to be having oral assessments with them, or just to make sure they don't cheat with AI?
Okay. Thank you very much for that question. And I think it is one of the very areas we're trying to navigate in this era that we are. And I'm sure there's going to be a solution. So as much as you can't completely curb the use of AI, and the assessment may not be as effective as you want it to be in terms of knowing if they really understood what they did. So the best you can do, that I would advise, is, so okay, I'm going to say this from a very, very live experience now, because AI does something. It gives an exaggerated it's more like a dopamine. It makes you feel as if you understand some concepts, whereas you don't. So I was in a group of learning class. I was also learning a particular concept, and yes, it's virtual. We were all using AI, and everybody was doing well. Do you know what happened? The day this thing happened was when they gave us a dose of truth. We did a live assessment on the spot, and it was not just anyhow kind of assessment, something that you need to do within 5 minutes. So the task actually, if you have been involved in the whole process, it should not take you more than 5 minutes, right? It should not take you more than 5 minutes. And there was a twist to the question to ensure that people who used AI will be caught. So that's why the way you structure your questions, if you want to actually assess them, should also have to do with you assessing. You should cross-check the kind of questions you are giving them. When you cross-check it, you can be able to fine-tune and see, okay, let me take this out, let me put this there, so I can be able to get that. Apart from that, I think the best way you can do it is, if I'm very, very correct now, you're talking about those people who write code. So even if it is 5 minutes, ask them to explain their code. Even if it is 5 minutes, yes, you can allocate 5 minutes for each student. Explain your code. There would be those with the real truth that, no, I didn't really understand this, and I was just using AI all through. Because that was what I felt too when that test was given, and everybody scored. The highest person that scored was like 1/10. Everybody had to sit down and did everything. That, okay, doesn't mean we should not use AI, but we should understand what we're actually doing. So as much as there can still be more solutions to this, I think that is those are some of the effective ways to get it. Asking them to explain what they did, at least a little. I'm sure from the first 2 minutes you would have suspected if this person used AI or not. It happens a lot in interviews. So oral assessments and also live tasks too can do that. Can do that. I don't know if I have a question.
Sure, you did. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Joyce, you can go on with your question, please.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I don't know if you can hear me loud and clear.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay, thank you so much for the presentation. I understood quite a lot, but please permit me to digress a little. Are there any special ways to prompt AI to give you high quality pictures? Because I've noticed that whenever I use ChatGPT to generate images or a variety of images that I would like to use, it gives me the same pattern of images. Or are there any other AI tools that are specifically meant to generate high quality images for somebody? Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so that is also part of what you would learn when you enroll for prompt engineering training, because one of the things you need to know apart from the language is know who to speak to. You can't speak Hausa to an Igbo person. You can't speak English to a French person. So there are models that are designed majorly for image generation. So the likes of Gemini, we have different versions of Gemini, but Gemini is one of the renowned free tool that you can have to generate images for you. Then we have some other platforms that can actually do that. We have okay, if I remember, but you try out Gemini. Okay, let's see if we can quickly check through that. So on your browser, just open Gemini or Google AI Studio. Google AI Studio. Yeah, I used to mention this thing, and I am sure people that have listened to me say this, they would smile now. Nano Banana. That is a very good tool for image generation. So when you open Google AI Studio, you would find even on Google itself, you just have to switch the model. So I'll try both ways and we'll see the kind of output. So you can see Gemini Pro, it is majorly meant for image generation. Do you understand? So I'm pretty much sure you will get a better output with this. Might not have the time to try that out, but yeah, that's my recommendation. Look for Gemini 3 Pro Image or the lower Nano Banana version, because I think this is most likely free. This is most likely paid, while the other one is free. So I'll still check if we can get there. But yes, you can check it out from your end and let me know. Yeah, I think my network is somehow. All right, let me see if we can quickly do that. Yeah. So in here, when you open this Google AI Studio, you see Gemini 3 Flash. You see different levels of different versions of Gemini. So you can select the ones that you can see. This is paid. This is paid. This is new. I think you can use this for a while, but they are all image generation tool. You get, so I'm pretty much sure you have something very good in terms of image from this model. Thank you. You can try out Stable Diffusion too. You can try out Microsoft Designer. I think they also have good image generation. I hope I answered the question.
Yes, thank you very much.
All right, so do we still have any other question for our speaker? All right, so I guess we are good to go. So just a quick one, we'll also be hosting a monthly follow-up webinar to actually support continuous learning and implementations. Is someone speaking, please? Okay. So we would also love to see you return next month with at least one story of how you've applied AI in your classroom or your various working ethics. So on behalf of Nigeria Girls in Tech, I want to say thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your participation. And see you next month. Stay connected with us and have a wonderful evening. Thank you very much.